welcome to the I Ching Cafe. My name is Belinda Dovston, and it is wonderful that you are here with me for our first full weekly overview, our I Ching overview for the week commencing the 4th of September 2023. Before we get into what this week is asking us to pay attention to, the wisdom of the I Ching to help us maximize the week, let us cast our minds back to last week. We had the delightful Hexagram 46 pushing upward, locked, the opportunity to grow and to get somewhere and put in the work and work and sweat in the midday sun and get somewhere, an opportunity to move forward with lots of energy. So for you, what was the focus of your work last week? How did good, solid work and nice effort really deliver something valuable for you? And where was this upsurge in growth in opportunity as a result? It was an intense week with lots of opportunities and lots of good things coming out unexpectedly and lots of work required to tap into them. So please, if there was something that came up for you that spoke to this idea of the value that comes out of putting in the effort and putting our backs and our hearts and our minds and our effort, our bodies behind what it is we're doing and the results that come from it, please do share a comment. I always love reading your comments, and they're so valuable for the community to learn from the different ways we experience these hexagrams. Okay, this week, where are we going and what is the focus? Very different energy every week. It changes as we are being dialed into different aspects of our lives, different aspects of our consciousness, different areas of ourselves that we are growing, that we are developing, that we are building. And we are certainly doing lots of learning this week because we have Hexagram 4, Youthful, Folly, as our first hexagram, as our main flow of energy, our main flow of learning. This is the hexagram that talks about accepting that we don't know. All right, so if you look at the structure of the hexagram, top trigram is mountain, bottom trigram is water. This is the stable, fixed mountain, the immovable mountain, and a babbling brook at the bottom of the mountain that is trying to move the mountain but does not have the ability to do that, right? It's just like a little babbling brook at the bottom of the mountain, the base, and the mountain is looking at the water and saying, you don't know what you're doing. And the water says, I can move mountains. Okay, and here we have this learning hexagram. This hexagram is all about recognizing and coming to terms with the fact that there's something to learn, that we don't actually know, that we aren't actually filled with wisdom on an issue, that we don't have the answers, that the learning is still to come, and we can't quite see the whole situation because we are learning. This is a week where our egos could be challenged if there isn't the humility that there's always something to learn, even in an area where you feel like you are an expert. In my experience of working particularly in a business context is there's nothing more damaging than an expert saying, I have nothing more to learn on this. I am an expert. You should listen to me because I know. Now, if you've worked hard to build up your expertise, right, and you have demonstrated that and you've got a track record, that's great. That's wonderful. It's such a gift to focus on something and build up expertise in a particular area. But you also have to be open and accept that you don't know things, that there's new things to learn. You know, on this channel, I've got to stay open to understand that there's things that I don't know and understand about the I Ching, because there are things I don't know and understand about the I Ching that I'm discovering. Layers, details, concepts, information. And the community brings information in and I look at it and I've got to stay open. I've got to have an openness to learn new things. It's impossible that I could learn and understand everything about this topic. As much as you learn something, the more you become, acclimatized to working with it, the more you realize you don't really know that much. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. That is what this hexagram brings. It brings in that awareness of, there's something here I don't understand. Okay, what do I do with that? The moment we say we understand the situation completely, the moment we have this idea that we get it, is the moment that this one gives us a smack upside the head. Okay, this hexagram can really shock you, all right, when you realize, all right, I don't know, all right. This is called youthful folly for a reason, because when we are young people thinking that we have the maturity of an adult, you look at a teenager, right? And if you're not a teenager, you look at a teenager, you think, oh my goodness, they are going to really hurt before they get this lesson. Okay, now imagine you are the teenager, all right, and you're wearing that hat, and you're like, I know everything. Adults don't understand. They don't understand me. Okay, we've all been in that role, and most of us are in the other role, looking back and going, oh boy, this is going to hurt before it gets better. Okay, so that's the mindset I want us to focus on, that the I Ching is asking us to focus on this week. There's something to learn. And if we stay in a spirit of openness, remember our monthly hexagram, a spirit of openness, that we can learn and work with it. Now, what's really interesting about this hexagram is this hexagram also asks us to reach out to mentors, to open ourselves up to other people's views, to say, I don't know, elicit opinion, elicit input. And what's going to be really interesting as we work with this week is that the first changing line of the monthly, which is roughly the first week, talks about not listening to others, going within, thinking quietly. Okay, how do these two tie up? Let's see what unfolds. I'm not going to put any presupposition on it. Let's just see what happens. How do we determine between someone who is a wise mentor that can give us guidance on an area that we don't have information versus other people's opinions, all right, that just merely serve to make us feel like we don't know what we're doing and we should be doing something else? I think if we can work this week with thinking about when does someone have a vested interest in telling you what to do versus someone who's a mentor is giving you good quality advice that's making you see things in a new way, i.e. centered truth from the whole monthly hexagram. How do we differentiate? How do we get to the truth of that? So I'm hooking these two things, changing line in the first position from the monthly to this weekly. There's a connection here. Not quite sure how it's going to pan out for us, but there's a connection. What voices do we listen to? What voices highlight where we have got learning to do? And how do we step into that learning and get the kind of information we need? So perhaps our learning and the way we get our learning this week is not necessarily about asking everyone to tell us what to do, but is to doing our own research and going within and seeking quality information to help us reflect and think clearly. Let's see. So one changing line for this week in the sixth position, right at the top, the culmination line. And this line cautions us against trying to push for something to happen, okay, to acting impulsively, of trying to force the hand, of making things happen, of pushing things to a conclusion. And the image created is that you're sitting under a tree, and right here in front of you is this fruit on the tree that's ripening, and it's ripening, and it's ripening. And when it is ready, it falls out the tree, and as it falls out the tree, you happen to put your hand out, and clink, the fruit just falls into your hand. That's the symbol of this changing line. So what it tells us is, as we are working through this youthful folly, learning and development, okay, becoming wise, realizing where we are inexperienced, we don't have to this week wrestle with making something happen. We just have to be open and follow our intuition at the right time. Bloop, there falls the fruit into our hand. The situation is ripening. Just trust it. Just trust that what you need drops into your life, into your awareness, into your mind at the right time. It's okay. It's going to happen. Our second hexagram, all right, how is this tied? There are two flows of energy because we have a changing line, is hexagram 7, the army. Okay, the army is a hexagram that's all about tapping into the resources around us, the people, the community. It's about digging deep, putting down our borehole, as it were, down into the earth and sucking up the spring water, sucking up the resources we need, but doing it with a focus, with an energy of organized communication. This is the story of an army where people are drawn from the community. Okay, we have people who are asked to sign up as reserves from the villages, from the towns, to mobilize, to undertake something important and significant and unusual. And the way we do that is have a very clear plan, a very clear focus, very good communication, great leadership, great teamwork, and we mobilize, we put our energy together and we go for it, and then the army can disassemble once the challenge has been overcome or the goal has been achieved. So this week, as we work with this idea of youthful folly, of learning, perhaps our learning and what we're learning to do is connected to this idea of the army. I'm starting to really like this idea of how these hexagrams play with each other in a much more significant way. So is our learning around how to mobilize, right? Or are we mobilizing with others to accelerate our wisdom and our learning? Interesting. Chicken or egg, right? So mobilizing and focusing and getting it done, okay? And focusing on having a clear plan of how we're going to do this, getting organized, getting efficient, getting all our ducks in a row is the energy of Hexagram 7, the army. And so as we work with this week, we put our energy into mobilizing the army, the people around us, our army, right, who are there to help us in a time of need. Now, this hexagram is actually the next one that I had planned to edit and publish for you. It's already recorded. So maybe this is my incentive to push through and get that out to you so that you have a lot more depth around Hexagram 7, the army, as we work with this energy for the week. So I'll get moving on that. All right, thank you so much. Our week is really about the learning and the mobilizing of getting the job done, of getting organized. Ducks in a row this week, people. Let's do it because we can. Thank you so much. Please like and share if this was meaningful to you. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe or the follow button for the podcast so that you can get the new episodes every week straight into your app to guide and inspire you for the week ahead. And of course, I look forward to seeing you soon at our next weekly overview. Thank you so much.